A good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 22nd of April, 2025. Coming to the Crusty podcast, episode 364. Remember, kids, budgets balance themselves. That's right. Some outcry, some outrage over the predicted budgets that these new guys want to promote in the name of Canadian democracy. It's really interesting, some of the facts they've come up with. Basically, it's all about borrowing, ladies and gentlemen. Listener and viewer discretion is advised because I will swear, smoke cigarettes, and do all these wonderful things, like I usually do. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, episode 364 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Remember, kids, budgets balance themselves. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, and this podcast is also brought to you in part by and supported by Veterans for Freedom Network. That's right, Stand 2, Veterans for Freedom, and coming soon, Veterans for Freedom TV, Stand 2. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Hope you've all had a wonderful weekend. I know I did because I was working. Anyhow, that's the breaks. That's all part of the working class spectrum, right? And if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, share this podcast, all of our social media platforms. Do not be shy, ladies and gentlemen. Just take the time, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, all this good stuff, and just tell me what you think, Anyhow, as the title card said, federal parties have their budgets now, what they propose to do once elected. Of course, Carney says if he's PM, he'll do this. And Poilievre will say he'll do that. And of course, Wainwright Singh in his infant wisdom wants more taxes, just like the Liberals. Hey, isn't that a bitch? Okay, but still, it's a shit show. It's a poop show, ladies and gentlemen. I got a video here from Chris Sims, Canadian Taxpayers Federation, the Alberta CEO there, or the honcho for the Taxpayers Federation, and she breaks it down basically on how it's not going to look if the Carney government gets in too. And that's what gets me, because there's people that I know in my life personally that would love Carney to be prime minister because, he's better than Justin, because he's smarter than Justin. But I'll get to the point here shortly. But Mr. Carney wants to borrow more money. Borrow more money, eh? Ain't that a kicker? Like, didn't that get us in trouble in the first place since 2015? Only little deficits here, little deficits there. Why do we have deficits to begin with? Why do you need to borrow more money to spend? You would think that you borrow money to buy things like a home, like a mortgage, or a car, something that's going to help your livelihood, help your lifestyle out. Okay. But then you turn around and borrow all this money to help Canadians or the less fortunate around the globe. And you start spending and borrowing more. And for what? During the pandemic, what did they do? They kept printing money to give people a chance to stay at home without having to go to work from being infected. But how did that work out? Okay, because a lot of bureaucrats, a lot of politicians, a lot of administrators end up getting some lovely fucking pay raises because of that monstrosity. Okay? So when you look at the budgets these parties try to promote here, I got a little title card here from an interesting group of people, and I'll break some of it down here. The fine people at Tech Bomb CA. Okay, and I will cue this up shortly here. It basically just goes through what they're going to spend, just a lump sum kind of thing. So this is by Ron Scorsese from Tech Bomb. So I'll include this in my description, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can read along at your own leisure, find more articles, and decide for yourself here too. I just find that every time they propose these budgets, it's going to screw up the taxpayer. That's what it is. Okay, it's nothing more, nothing less. Okay, it's the way it's always been. Okay, and considering the lackluster policies when it comes to our defense, to our security, to real environmental concerns. Okay, they squander it. So I'll just cue this up here, ladies and gentlemen, and I will go through it side by side by each, just every little thing that this thing has to offer us, and just the morsels of information as we speak, right? Basically, it's all bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and butter up a poop sandwich for you, make you guys suck eggs, but it's just I don't know. Every time I see new platforms, it doesn't matter which party it is. It doesn't. I could care less which party it is. It's just brownie points. That's all it is. Brownie points. So once again, this is from the lovely people at Tech Bomb, and I will read this along with you here too. So 2025 Canadian election federal party platforms, what each party is promising. Oh, the word promises. Promise me heaven, Daddy. Yes, of course. With Canada's 2025 federal election on the horizon, each major political party has unveiled its vision for the country's future. The platforms outline starkly different approaches on spending, taxes, climate policy, and social programs. Below, we break down the major promises from the Liberal, Conservative, New Democratic, Bloc Québécois, Green, People's Party platforms, and analyze which voters these promises are likely to appeal to. Each section ends with a look at the age and income groups that stand to benefit most from the party's plans. Okay. So here it is, kind of thing. Just, spread out, simple, keep it simple. You know what I mean? So Liberal Party wants to spend in the next 4 years $130 billion. From where? Where's it going to come from? The magic money machine, of course. Transfer payments for oil that they don't want to, sell around the world. Basically, it's the taxpayers, ladies and gentlemen. The projected deficit impact plus $225 billion by 2029. Wow. And that's just great, isn't it? And people are buying this shit. Key revenue measures, the standard taxation, which will probably go up, of course, economic growth. How do you grow an economy when you're not allowed to build anything or promote anything? That's the Liberal plan. Of course, what do you expect from guys who want to work for other people instead of their own people, right? Here's the Conservative plan: $100 billion offset by $125 billion in savings. So there's a little more frugality there. Deficit reduced 70% over 4 years. That seems logical. A big reduction would be nice. $125 billion in savings from cuts to consultants, bureaucracy, foreign aid. So there's an idea there. Cutting from the top. How many times have I said that on the show, ladies and gentlemen? Cut from the top, not from the bottom. You want to keep the foundation solid, right? And of course, how many bureaucrats do we have here? Didn't Justin hire something like 40,000 bureaucrats and administrators and public employees alike? There you go. Okay, now here's the NDP for you. Okay, $94.5 billion in new revenue. From who? From who? Isn't that interesting, eh? It will come from us, ladies and gentlemen. It will not come from the 40 billionaires that live in Canada. No, it will come from us, okay? Plus $48 billion added to the deficit. So what are they going to spend it on? I'm not saying the NDP will ever become the federal leadership of this country, but what are they going to spend $48 billion on? Interesting. Social programs, parlay shows, all these wonderful things. Yes, everybody wants this. Right. So the projected deficit impact, $48 billion over 4 years. So more debt. So the key revenue measures, what they're proposing: wealth tax, closing loopholes, consultant cuts. So a little bit of stealing from the conservative element there, jag meat. Of course, the Greens, I don't listen to the Greens half the time anyway, because half of them are just bloody socialists. Right. Okay, get this. They're proposing a new spending, that's hypothetically, $237 billion in transition tax revenue, or transaction tax revenue, partial costing. What the fuck is that? Unclear revenue, heavy spending, partially costed. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, Jesus. Transaction tax, corporate and wealth taxes. So the more money you make, the more you get taxed, right? Oh, that's just such a great plan. That makes everybody just so happy. I could just shit. Wow. Of course, les blocs, not costed, not disclosed. More transfers for Quebec, no federal revenue plan. Right. So more money from Alberta to les blocs québécois when they don't want the oil pipeline. Interesting. PPC, I don't really get Max Bernier anymore, but not costed, balanced budget within 4 years. The claim, spending cuts and foreign aid eliminate CBC funding. All right. So that's basically the meat and potatoes. Okay. And I will leave this article in the description for you all, ladies and gentlemen, to decide amongst yourselves, right? Pardon me, a little dusty in here. But I'll leave this article in here for you wonderful people to read amongst yourselves and decide to. Any federal government that promotes the simple fact of let's keep spending money that we don't have. Let's keep borrowing, spending, borrow, spend, and everything would just be honky dory, right? And like always, they forget. The internet alone. Okay, sorry about that little blurb, ladies and gentlemen. Had some issues here with my connection. Something got cut there for momentary. So sorry to black out there. Just, spending, cuts, and more taxes. Budgets don't balance themselves. They screw you and me.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 364 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. That's right. I remember, kids, budgets balance themselves. It's a joke. No, budgets don't balance themselves, right? So I just gave you the platform on what the major parties are producing, what they promote, okay? And I have to say the conservative budget seems to be a little more logical, don't you think? Right? A little more factual. That doesn't mean everyone should just rush out and vote for that guy or this guy. It's just a little more pragmatic to get us out of the crap that we're in. That's what it is. And it's got nothing to do with who's better looking or who replaced Justin Trudeau. It's what's going to work for Canadians. What is going to work here? Right? Because every Canadian that keeps working has to keep trying to get ahead and keeps losing money, losing credit, losing opportunities to get ahead in this country. And the leadership in this nation is not working for the people. It's not working for the people whatsoever. It's not going to benefit you, not going to benefit me if Mr. Carney gets in. If Poilievre gets in, there's going to be cutbacks. Yeah. So some programs might have to be cut. But I like his idea when you're cutting from the top. That's what we should do, right? In order to save the milk, you got to cut the cream, right? How many times have we said that? Right? Anyway, here's Chris Sims with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and she's got a breakdown too on the whole issue, especially with Blarney Carney and his budget there too. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen at your leisure, and I'll leave this link in my description as well for you all to listen to, right? And it's really interesting what she has to say about the whole thing, right? And I'll leave the captions on too for you to read along, right? I'll turn this volume up, and then we'll be good to go. So just once again, ladies and gentlemen, like here to see, click like, subscribe, share this podcast all over social media platforms, and don't be shy.
Parties have released their platforms. Let's take a quick look at Prime Minister Mark Carney and his Liberal team's platform first. So, holy cow. They're planning on racking up more debt than they were under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I know, I was surprised too. I thought the banker was supposed to be better with money than the drama teacher, but I guess not. So take a look at Mark Carney's election platform. They're planning on racking up more debt than former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was going to do. So that is a huge issue there. Second, take a look at their platform and see the term border adjustment. What's that? That's a tariff. That is a brand new carbon tariff that Mark Carney wants to impose on items coming into Canada. Here's the thing. Okay, this is different than Mark Carney's industrial carbon tax, folks. This is separate. Mark Carney thinks carbon taxes are so important, so vital, that when he looks around the world and he finds a country that does not have a carbon tax that is up to his standards, that upsets him. That upsets Mark Carney so much that he is now going to impose a tariff on items coming from a country that doesn't have a carbon tax that he likes. So that means it's going to cost you more to buy stuff here in Canada for those items. And now we have a price tag estimate. It's right there in his platform. So for journalists watching this, look at the term border adjustment. That's just government talk for a tariff. They're estimating that is going to cost Canadians around $500 million. Yeah, that is a very big deal because Canadians are broke. 50% of Canadians are within $200 every month of not being able to make the minimum payments on all their bills. They cannot afford tax hikes. They certainly can't afford brand new carbon tax tariffs on stuff that they need to buy here in Canada. So that was a huge red flag in that Liberal Party platform. Second is what was absent from it. We still don't know how much Mark Carney's industrial carbon tax is going to cost. No idea, because of course he has said repeatedly he's not going to axe the tax. No, he finds the notion of axing the carbon tax to be laughable. He's going to change the carbon tax so that it is hidden in an industrial carbon tax. But here's the thing. When Mark Carney jacks up a carbon tax on things like fuel refineries, the cost of gasoline and diesel is going to go right back up at the pump. Okay? That is a big deal. When Mark Carney imposes an industrial carbon tax on fertilizer plants, that's going to increase the cost for farmers, which is going to increase the cost of food here in Canada. So that is the Liberal Party platform. Big red flags there. Let's shift now to take a look at the Conservative Party platform. Generally, some very good news in there. I think I saw the headline in the Globe and Mail saying that it's around $70 billion worth of tax relief. That's great, but that's a really big number. When you break that down, for instance, Pierre Poilievre is promising with his income tax cut to save the average family up to $1,800 per year. So $1,800 per year in savings. It's right there in this platform. That's really good news. Poilievre is also promising to eliminate all carbon taxes. So yes, axing the consumer tax for real and for good, and eliminating the industrial carbon tax, that hidden one I was telling you about. So that is huge tax relief. Very happy to see that because people are really fighting to afford the basics right now. So any relief is awesome. Also wanted to flag something cool here. Pierre Poilievre is proposing to have a Taxpayer Protection Act. As an Albertan, we love our Taxpayer Protection Act in Alberta because that law is shielding us from being nailed with a sales tax. It is also shielding us from tax hikes. Folks in Alberta would need to vote in a referendum before tax hikes would be allowed in our province. So that is a huge cost savings as well. We would like to see the Conservatives get to a balanced budget. We don't see a path to a balanced budget in this Conservative platform. However, we are seeing a dramatic reduction in spending, which is great. And we're seeing big tax cuts, big tax savings for average Canadians. So folks, go check out both parties' platforms. They're out now.
Yeah, that seems a little more logical, right? A little more savings here, savings there. The platform does look good, right? But we'll see. We'll see come the 28th because the election's a week away, folks. 6 days. Okay. But this time next week, we'll have a brand new prime minister or the old Blarney Carney. So, we've got to be a little more sensible here, there too. What gets me is that there's people out there that hang on to Carney's words, hang on to his chaos. One more time, I apologize there for the technical blurb I had. The signal was getting kind of screwy here. But I think you know what I mean, folks, when it comes to what's going to benefit Canadians. Right? Going into debt is not always a good thing, right? If there's an emergency or something happens, or something happens to your house, okay, fine, you do that, right? But taking all the money and to spend internally again to create more debt isn't going to help us, right? So if you're thinking about Mr. Carney and his platform and his plan, no, I'm going to tell you not to. I'm going to tell you not to think about that because who in their right mind would follow someone who is willing to put a country into debt again, add more, right? They say in the military, but seeing's believing. You got to see the boots on the ground. You got to see the tanks on the ground. You got to see the training going on to believe that want to really fund the military. We got to see a vast improvement in our security protocols too, right? Seeing is believing. We got to see the personnel that are guarding the ports, searching the crates, searching the sea containers, searching everything, making sure no illegal activity is going on. Seeing is believing. So you could talk a great game, spend all this money on what's going to show for it. I got friends of mine in the States that they talk back to me back and forth. And they've actually asked me, they said, why is Canada so weak when it comes to defense spending? And it comes down to the simple fact that politicians really don't care. Okay. Now, I've talked to politicians who have said, well, my constituents never made a big deal about that. And my constituents never said anything about this. And yet, some of these politicians have said, oh, our constituents want higher taxes, or our constituents need higher taxes. So it's bullshit. It was never an issue because that Canadian, which I've touched on before a few episodes back, okay, there was a reliance on the United States. The United States is a great ally. They've always been a great ally. They've had the logistics, they've had the manpower. Get it done. Okay, historically during World War II, if it wasn't for American logistics, who knows where Europe would be? Who knows where the Allies would be? Back and forth, right? Ideas exchanges, good fucking allyship. Now, what they're promoting now is they're drawing a line in the notional sand. For what? For whom? Right? So, my American friends are listening right now. It's a matter of Canadian arrogance. They didn't care. They were too reliant on Big Brother, too reliant on this to happen. And now they're getting caught with their pants down. Now they're not really paying attention to that. So when they sit there and say we're looking at the Canadian defense or going to upgrade this, upgrade that, don't buy it. Right? It's going to take some real action and some real determination to get it done. Right? And you, my wonderful people there, especially my Canadian viewers, when it comes to voting next Monday on the 28th, really think what's going to benefit this country in the long run. Because what I just read to you about the Liberal proposal is just more debt. That means our lives are going to be more expensive. What Ms. Sims said, right? She's just proven it. So who's going to be the better politician now? Who's going to be a better leader right now? Something to think about.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 364. Remember, kids, budgets balance themselves. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Once again, my apologies for that little technical blur that happened early in the episode. Something with my internet signal just kind of cutting out. So I got a bit of a pause, bit of a panic because I don't have time to re-record this episode. What you see is what you get. My apologies, folks. Anyhow, I was actually watching a bit of the news there today, just after I got home from work and having my dinner with my wife. And we were discussing the whole budgetary issues, especially Jagmeet Singh. And I have a chuckle because his only platform is he doesn't like the rich, yet he's rich himself. And he bragged about bringing in the medicine program, medical program, he allied with Justin Trudeau, the prophylactics and the diabetic medication. So he's trying to pat himself on the back for a half-assed effort for basic bells and whistles. And his big concern is taxing the rich. Okay. But the rich do pay their fair shares of taxes, believe it or not. Right. And people like myself, my wife, family, and friends, we're just trying to get ahead. So Mr. Singh and anyone who supports that kind of mentality, um, our tax dollars are far too expensive as it is. Because when I look at my pay stub, I see a good third of my money gone after working a 50-hour week or, working 60 hours. A good third of my money gone for CPP, and income tax. I've even volunteered extra money for income tax in case they want to reassess me again, like you always do. And the funny thing about that is every liberal government that has been in my life, okay, I've always had a tax reassessment. Yeah, the conservative government never gave me a tax reassessment. Isn't that interesting? What's that tell you, folks? They're gouging, they're desperate. Okay. And these proposals that Mr. Blarney Carney, the Agmeet Singh, and the Greens are not going to benefit Canadians. They're not. You can scream social programs all you want. There has to be a full revenue stream coming from people, meaning people going to work, having the money, having the extra cash to either tax or to invest or to save. A lot of Canadians are not getting that chance to save. A lot of Canadians are getting that chance to invest. But we're sure as hell getting taxed, aren't we? Hey, that's the plan, right? Let someone else look after it again. That's what got us in trouble the first time with tariffs, right? So we, the Canadian taxpayer, works and works and works, pays. You guys spend, and we can't invest shit. And you can't invest shit, right? You've got to bribe investors. You've got to, you know, shake some meat at some people. That's what you got to do. What's happening? Nothing. What's going on? Nothing. Just bells and whistles. That's all it is, ladies and gentlemen. Bells and whistles. So come this time next week, some of yous might be shaking your heads going, God, they told us it wasn't gonna work. Or some might be praising. We don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going to happen in Canada. Right? Like I said, I'll leave these articles in my description for you, ladies and gentlemen, and read it. And you decide. And that's the thing. We need more Canadian individuals in there to decide and think what is best for them. What's going to be best for your family? What's going to be best for your livelihood? What's going to be best for your lifestyle? What's going to be best for your freedom? Move around and have the opportunity to make some more and to get ahead. Who's going to help you get ahead? You voting for the right person, ladies and gentlemen. Anyhow, I've been Crusty Canuck on this 22nd of April, 2025. I wish good things all out there, ladies and gentlemen. Good things for everybody out there. Weather is getting better. Nice warm day today, too. A little bit of rain today, so loosen things up a bit, make some of the dust. But snow is gone. Spring is finally sprung, and at least this part of the country, anyway. And I got something to look forward to, regardless of what's going to happen next week in the drama. Let's keep our heads up, keep calm, cool, and collected. Do what we can, help each other in these trying times, help yourself, help your neighbor. And if you got some time, take some time out just to relax and help yourself, you know, and try to be grateful for what you do have. And let's look forward to some better days, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we can be the light in this manufactured darkness. Is that simple? Anyhow, I will try to have an episode up in the next couple of days or two. I'll probably put together another vids on the fly for you all out there as well. I like making those little videos in my truck when I'm driving home and I get something to do. I like that too. My buddy Paul in Ontario, he's like, "Hey, all my videos make off." And I say, "Well, yeah, everybody in his car." And I make it when I'm driving home from work after a long day. Needless to say, folks, pay attention to my community page here on the tube and in my Facebook page as well. I'm in the process of probably trying to find a new shop to sell some Crusty Canuck swagger. So if you want some Crusty Canuck items, there's a link in my description. You can check it. Sometimes that link is broken, sometimes it isn't. If it is busted, let me know, and I will try to get some Crusty Canuck swagger for you all to purchase at your t-shirts, hats, but if the store link doesn't work out, then I might have to get a new store and see what we can do. Stay updated for that as well. And that's about it for now. Like I say, hydrate. Weather's getting warmer, so get some water into you, and just take some time out to appreciate what you have, and vote with a clear head, a level head. That is. Lay off the panic. Lay off the hype. Don't buy this. Everyone's up. Bullshit. Stand on guard for thee. That's simple. Like I always say, folks, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worth.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
I'll never forget. Well, brothers and sisters. Well.